Hello and welcome back to the Morrissey and Wine podcast. This is a chance to take a more relaxed, slow approach to the news around Morrissey and the Smiths, talk about the subject in detail and kind of the antidote to the clickbaity and regurgitated reporting that we tend to find around the subject. Since the first episode, we've had hundreds of listeners. I think we're approaching 200 subscribers. We're so pleased with that. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We were also charting in the top 20 podcasts on Apple. That was under the music category, which was amazing. Thank you, everybody, for putting us in those rankings. Our bottle of wine this week is Campo Viejo Rioja, £8.75 from Sainsbury's. You may recognise the bottle. It's the yellow label with the red writing, and it's going down quite well, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Now, what have we got coming up, Chris?
Well, coming up, George, we have Two Things I Hate About You, which is where George and I will list a couple of things that we hate about each other, so shouldn't be too challenging for us.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yes. We have some news from the Morrissey world. We have a Morrissey quiz, which you can join in at home with. We have Nanny Val Reacts, backed by popular demand. That's where George's lovely grandma will react to a Morrissey song. We're going to talk about if Morrissey is working class, isn't working class, ever was. And we have an interview with Stephen Stafford, the lead singer of Frankly the Smiths.
Yeah, so Stephen is an art and photography teacher by day and moonlights as a professional Morrissey impersonator. And we just want to get to the bottom of what is that like, pretending to be Morrissey for a living.
Exciting. But first, we have Two Things I Hate About You.
Let's get into that.
Yes, the first one, we've talked about this before, George. Cafes.
Yeah.
Especially
And what?
Especially when abroad.
Yeah.
So we've holidayed together a couple of times, and I think as soon as we leave the hotel, instantly looking for the next cafe. We have to sit there. I don't drink coffee, and tea in Spain is horrible, so I have to sit there with a Diet Coke. And you think that's not too bad. I can live with that. I can manage. He has a coffee, and I mean, I'm not a Scrooge. He can.
You are a Scrooge.
Yes. And then as soon as you finish that coffee, we stand up, and then you're looking for the next cafe again. So that really gets to me because what do? I just sit there. Yeah.
But if we're not, so this is my point. If we're not stopping at cafes, we're just walking with there's no...
You can see things, it's a new place.
Yeah, but when you sit down at a cafe, you have an even greater opportunity to see things. I suppose what's annoying for you is that it's constant. It's like every hour we're stopping at a new cafe.
Yeah.
I just love sitting down.
You're quite a lazy person.
I am very lazy.
Yeah. So that's the first one. It does, quite challenging.
Well, is it my turn?
Yeah, you go. If you can think of anything.
Well, it's been so hard. Yeah. You have this really annoying habit of only answering the phone when it is like 100% convenient for you. Like the other day, I always have to text in advance and say, "Can I call you in 15 minutes?" And then you say yes, and then I call you. Then the other day I called you, you didn't pick up. Then you called me back. I think I was sleeping on the sofa, so I didn't pick up. Then I called you back, and I just knew you wouldn't answer because it wasn't in the arranged window when I was supposed to call you.
I think you're overthinking these things. Yeah.
You hate picking up the phone, though, I think. I think you're of that... Well, we're only 3 years apart in age, but I think you're more of that generation where picking up... Like, when the phone rings, it's like an intrusion.
Sure enough, it does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really like talking on the phone, unless it's in a booked time slot.
Yeah,
that suits me.
You also don't like it when I call you on FaceTime audio, because I think you don't like how crystal clear the call is.
Yeah, it's too modern. I don't like that method. It's not a nice method, and also I have terrible Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move on to mine now because that wasn't too bad. So this one is interesting. So you always I'll write a book. You want to write a book about something. You want to do something, But going back to the other one, the laziness a little bit. Nothing ever really happens, so you sort of don't pull your finger out.
I mean, it is remarkable that this podcast is actually happening, and that I've been running the Morrissey-Mercury fanzine for 7 months now, and I haven't. It is in my life, to people who know me, that is mental.
I gave it about 2 issues, and then and I thought, he'll get bored, or something else will go on.
I mean, I've started 3 books, fictional books. I get about 20 pages in. I think, that's enough for this week. I'll come back to it next week, and then I never do.
What's worse about it for me is I have to listen to all the thinking about it and have to be supportive and say, an old people's home with people who take drugs, or whatever story you're talking about. I have to make out I'm actually interested because I want you to actually pull your finger out and do it.
Yeah.
And suddenly, and it never happens anyway, so it takes a lot of friendship points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
they're running low.
The worst bit is I have no kids, no partner, no dependents.
Yeah.
I have the easiest life in the world, and I still can't be asked to write more than 20 pages of a book. I mean,
you do have to take the bins out though, and
sometimes I don't bother with that. That's how I got binge.
Well, you don't wash the pots. I know that much.
Yeah, I know I don't.
And you have a dishwasher.
Well, the dishwasher's broken, which is the reason for that. So it's not really my fault. Okay, I've got one for you. You have this weird habit, which is even weirder because you're a vegan.
Oh, not this one.
Which I'll explain. You frequently smell your hand because you say that it smells like mozzarella, which is why it's weird for a vegan. And not only that, you seem to like the smell, and frankly, Chris, it's disgusting.
I think it's a nervous thing, personally. I think it's a nervous thing. But yeah, it's quite personal, George, for you to share that.
Well,
I told you in confidence.
Yeah, I'm just hoping if I bring it to the table now and, we can tell the whole world, you'll be so shamed that you'll stop doing it.
I'll never be able to show myself in the store and garter again.
It's kind of got like a Phantom of the Opera vibe when you bring your hand to your face, smell it, and then sort of scuttle away into a dark corner.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Do you feel better?
Can I have a third? Is there
yeah, go on then.
I suppose one thing that always gets to me for you is you're very jammy. And I mean, this isn't really something that's negative for you, but it's negative for me because I don't think it's fair. Because you've not done anything to deserve this. So you are a very jammy person.
So jammy, I found out through Spotify we have quite a lot of American listeners. I don't know if jammy is a word that they use over there, but it means lucky, doesn't it?
Yeah, lucky.
A mischievous kind of luck, like you get away with things, or I know I am lucky, and
one that springs to mind.
Yeah,
when we went to Berlin, which I don't think you were too fond of that place.
No, it was freezing. It was horrible.
It was way too cold.
Yeah,
the hotel was a bit horrible. We went to a bar or a club or whatever you want to call it, and some bars in Berlin have a bit of a labyrinth underneath. We're in one of those, and this was the first time I saw you really, really drunk, and you came upstairs, followed me upstairs, looked at me, and tapped your pockets and went, and I was like, I knew exactly what had happened, and I ran downstairs because you obviously had no phone or wallet.
Yeah.
Ran downstairs and found them neatly where you were stood.
Yeah.
Which is pretty jammy because most people you'd never see them again.
Yeah.
So that's one example. You are generally lucky, jammy person.
Well, yeah, and my dad has always said that he's always had really good luck, and he's very rational, kind of like his physics is his job, right? So he's very almost an atheist, but he believes on some spiritual level he has really good luck, and he's never been able to explain it. So maybe I've inherited that.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, I don't have a third one because I'm a nicer person than you.
Because there's nothing else wrong with me because I am almost perfect.
Yeah, I suppose. So we've done that now. We wanted to give you a chance to get to know us a bit because if you've subscribed, you're going to be hearing us again and again. This is us. We've been friends for a long time. There are certain things that pee us off, and there'll be more next time. For now, we're going to go into news from the world of Morrissey.
So how are you finding the wine, George?
It's pretty nice. So it's a red this time. I don't know if we mentioned that. Oh, we said it was Ryoki, didn't we? Yeah, it's a red this time. I'm worried about getting the train home later with purple runny mouth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do Americans use that phrase, purple runny mouth? It's so patronised. Oh, you're American. Do you know this word? Purple runny mouth is when you have purple lips from red wine.
Yeah, it reminds me of my grandma. She always had red wine breath, I think. Yeah, and I did notice that this bottle of wine was £2 more expensive than last episode's. This is the one I acquired for us.
Yeah.
I thought I'd get us a nice Spanish red.
Taste of luxury.
Yeah, yeah. So now we're going on to the news.
Oh, do you remember someone picked us up on saying news instead of news?
Well, it is spelled Noose, isn't it? Oh, sorry.
Well, I feel. I mean, I'm a actual journalist, and I deal with news, and that's how I say news.
Yeah.
But point taken. Thank you for that.
Yeah, not that we actually read those negative things. Hoax interview.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is the first item on the agenda. Morrissey posted to his website saying that an interview, what he described as a new interview that was supposedly done in Portugal, was, quote, a hoax, unquote. And it also sent us into a bit of a spin, didn't it? Because we didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I think just because there's photos of Morrissey in Portugal at the same time doesn't mean it wasn't a hoax.
Well, yeah, Morrissey is not infallible. He's not the Pope. As much as you might like him to be, Chris, he made a mistake, didn't he? Because it soon turned out that there was an interview about, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, I can't remember the date, in Portugal, in that location that he mentioned. There were paparazzi pictures of him entering the building, and there was a video taken during the interview that was in a chapel in this place that Morrissey had mentioned. So,
and there was an affidavit of Morrissey saying, "I did do this interview."
Yeah. So all we could surmise, someone pointed out that the photographer or the journalist had very recently put on Instagram, looking back to this interview that I did with Morrissey, and I think there was some new pictures from it that hadn't been published before. So someone in Morrissey's team, or Morrissey himself, must have seen this post, thought, I haven't done an interview this week in Portugal, and then said it's a hoax, without remembering that he did. I mean, he's probably done, 500 interviews in his lifetime, so he's not going to remember every single one.
I don't know, I think he would. I think he would. I think he knows. I think he would remember every interview.
So why did he say it was a hoax then?
If Morrissey says it's a hoax, it must have been a hoax.
Okay. Pope Morrissey III. What have we got next?
So, Joe Slee.
Joe Slee, yeah. So Joe Slee, who was, I believe, a production assistant in Rough Trade, which was obviously the record label that the Smiths were originally signed to, Joe Slee helped Morrissey to design the cover art for many of the most iconic sleeves of the Smiths singles.
Which covers? Do you know any of the specifics?
No, but I think she had a hand in all of them.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
We have checked the Mozipedia. We can't find an entry for Joe Slee.
No.
And I don't want to make things up, but I'm pretty sure she had a hand in most of them. She also...
We had a good look in the Mozipedia as well, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. Checked. There's no index, which is annoying. But anyway, Joe Slee also then went on to work with Morrissey in the early solo years and was his personal assistant as well, I believe. Now, Joe Slee has been diagnosed with cancer. And we know this because her friend has set up a fundraising page online, because Jo wants to treat her cancer with a mix of NHS treatments and holistic treatments. Now, so obviously some people might be sceptical about that. That's not for us to say. It's completely her own choice. But what I would say is this same mix of treatments did work in the past when she was diagnosed with, I believe, breast cancer, and she beat that with this mix.
Great. Okay.
So, I mean, some people have said, surely Morrissey could... I think the target is several £1,000s. Surely Morrissey could donate that, but he doesn't. If he doesn't have to tell us, does he? He can do it in private. It's sad, and it's sad that in this day and age people have to fundraise to pay for these things.
Yeah, it is. I recently had a family case of cancer, and it is. You don't feel very secure in the current system. And I think the holistic and other approaches It was weird. My granddad having hemp and cannabis oil. My grandma was talking about cannabis oil, which was all quite scary.
Well, we wish her the best, and obviously, and we did do an article in the Morrissey Mercury fanzine, the latest one that has the link to the fundraiser. You can probably find it on Google, but if you have the fanzine, you can find the link in there to donate. We understand that Jo is dealing with everything really positively, and she has a very positive attitude. So if you can donate, please do. What have we got next?
Next, we have Morrissey's memories of the Salford University gig. So, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So Morrissey posted a really long, 2,000 words or something, sort of reminiscence of the Smiths gig at Salford University in the 80s, obviously. There was also an interesting line in there where he explicitly denied that Panic was racist, or the lyrics.
So why would people, anyone? I mean, I don't think it's racist. I can't see a racist term. Why were people saying it was?
Well, there's always been this thing about burn down the disco, because disco has traditionally been associated with black people and black music.
Oh God, straws! Come on.
I know, and Morrissey says in his reminiscence, this is an accusation based on no evidence. Morrissey has always been a target, hasn't he, for isms, racism. I don't know, all those kind of.
There's a recently. I'm not massive on social media, but there's a term that's out there at the moment called reaching, and that's what it feels like. It's sort of really reaching for something to find something that's not there. And I've never, before you just said that, now I've never heard that, and it doesn't. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you've got to remember, and so I was born in '93. When were you born, Chris? 96.
95.
I don't know. I honestly don't know if Chris is lying.
Since the day I was born. Yeah, you don't know my birthday.
No, I know.
Bastard.
I know. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is we don't remember the height of the music magazines in the 80s and so on. But my impression is they had column inches to fill every month. These were chunky magazines. Yeah. You had to find things to talk about, and an accusation that Morrissey was being racist in the song "Panic" that would have got people interested and would have filled a page. But it was lovely to read this reminiscence, and someone did make the point on Twitter. Forgive me, I can't remember who made the point, but maybe it was a bit of autobiography that was left out. Maybe he just copied and pasted from his notes and thought, I'll share this with people. Because it was written in that style, wasn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a really interesting read.
What else have we got in this month's fanzine? We've got some of the best memes from the Morrissey world.
What does meme stand for?
Meme doesn't stand for anything. Meme guess who invented the word meme? Well, you'll never guess, but it's unexpected.
Was it Christopher Biggins?
Now the American audience definitely won't get that one, but I'm not going to explain it. No, Richard Dawkins, the famous atheist, I believe is credited with the first use of the word meme. It's a thing that repeats itself in culture, I believe, and in genetics. Because Richard Dawkins is originally a geneticist.
Is it?
Yeah, I believe so. So anyway, this guy called All You Need Is Moz on Instagram, he's got 2,000 followers, and he does these really cool memes of Morrissey and the Smiths. So we've got the best of his memes in the latest fanzine issue. We have got the horoscopes, or as we call them, the mozoscopes, from Jessica Adams. And Jessica is genuinely a world-leading astrologer.
I love reading mine.
Yeah.
Sagittarius always pulls through.
Yeah. They're spookily accurate sometimes,
mine
aren't they?
were, yeah.
So you'll find those. And there's plenty more, but there's also, I just wanted to mention, Carol has done us a piece about her journey from hating Morrissey to loving Morrissey. She used to believe all the press reports, and her partner was really into them and Morrissey and the Smiths, but she couldn't stand them, and she's gone full circle, and now she's, as she calls herself, she's a mad crazy fan. So that's interesting.
It's nice to see people go that way.
Yeah.
Which I really nice to see. Yeah.
So I'll just mention while we're on the subject. So we've got a WhatsApp community that you can join for free. You'll find the link in our Twitter profile or at the top of the Mercury fanzine. So if you join up to that, it's free, and you'll get a weekly digest of Morrissey and Smith's news. You'll also get breaking news alerts, like when Morrissey posts to his website. You'll get almost instant notification. We have also got the Instagram page. That's at Morrissey Merc. You'll find memes on there and reels and sort of Morrissey interview clips, that sort of thing. And of course, we've got Twitter, which is where it all started for us. And that's where you'll get snippets of the latest news as soon as it comes out. Next, what are we doing next, Christopher?
Well, just first of all, managing all of that, managing the fanzine, this podcast, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. How do you find time to go to a loo, George?
I haven't been to the loo for several years.
Quite bunged up.
I am quite bunged up, yeah.
Okay, so next we have the quiz. George is going to quiz me.
Yeah.
I think it's 10 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 questions, which I don't know the answers to yet.
No.
Or I won't know until after.
Yeah, see if you can get 10 out of 10, Chris, and you at home, see how well you do. Does that sound like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Or?
Okay, Chris Tarrant.
Yeah.
I prefer Anne Robinson.
Yeah, Anne Robinson, a queen.
Yeah.
A queen. Okay, this is the quiz, so you can play along at home, but I'm going to ask Chris 10 questions about the music of Morrissey and the Smiths, and he is going to try and get 10 out of 10. But to be honest, Chris, I don't have a great deal of faith in you.
No.
You ready for the first question?
I'm ready.
You're ready, okay. Just breathe. Question number 1. Where was Morrissey's palatial house in Los Angeles?
This is house.
Yeah.
Was in WeHo,
What does that mean?
West Hollywood.
But do you know the street, the area?
No. No.
Do you want a clue?
Go on.
It's got the word sun in it.
Sunset Boulevard.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, is that a street or an
I think
area?
that's Sunset Boulevard is pretty big.
Is it?
I think it's like massive.
Okay. I thought Sunset Boulevard was a boulevard.
Yeah, but it's a big one.
Okay, all right.
It's not like a street like in England where you've got 10 houses. It's like.
Okay,
massive.
well, I'm going to give you the point.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Question 2. Who was the kid who appeared in the music video for Suede Head?
The kid.
Yeah.
Who's no longer a kid,
Yeah.
fully grown adult man, Sam, Morrissey's nephew.
Correct.
Very nice guy.
So got a triple-barreled name, hasn't he?
I don't want to try that bit, but the Sam is the first.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I think it's Sam Etsy Rayner.
That's yeah.
Or is it Etsy? Because Etsy is the shopping. Sorry, Sam. This is really embarrassing. Right.
I like Etsy. It's good. Both kinds. Yeah.
I feel like I've lost the authority of the quizmaster by cocking up 2 questions.
You're a
but...
shit quizmaster.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Question 3. What was Wednesday in the song "I Have Forgiven Jesus"?
Well, Friday was pathetic. Wednesday, condescension.
Correct. Very good. Question 4. Where does Moz get his hair cut in the documentary The Importance of Being Morrissey?
This is interesting. I can give you Mayfair.
Yeah, that's correct. Do you remember the name of the barbers?
Do I get a point for Mayfair?
Depends. If you don't get the name of the barbers, I might be generous and give you a point for Mayfair.
The barbers are really. Although we have stayed above the barbers once, but but I don't know. I don't remember the barber's name.
Okay, well, it was Mayfair. The answer was Trumpers.
Trumpers.
Yeah, I mean, it was the real name is G.O.F. Trumper, but I think it might be known as Trumpers.
Any relation to Trump?
No. China.
China.
Okay, question 5. What was the name of the track that is said to have broken up the Smiths?
I don't think I know, but my guess from a sort of Johnny Marr thing I read recently was "Work is a 4-letter word," the
Correct.
Cilla Black song.
Yeah.
Because Johnny Marr said, "I didn't become a pop star rock star to cover Cilla Black."
Yeah.
But it's a great song.
It is. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, especially when you have to go to work and you can play it on the way home, thinking, "God, why am I going to work?" Yeah.
Okay, next question. This is question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which radio DJ did Morrissey once bump into at a motorway service station near Newcastle? This is a hard one, but I want to test you.
Okay. How many lifelines do I have left?
You could phone a friend, but you don't have any.
Okay, oh yeah. 50-50. There's no audience to ask.
Well,
I
just
don't
think
know,
of you just right in a quiz show. The answer is usually just the most famous thing from that category. So think radio DJ, Time of the Smiths. Like, who would that be?
Is it a dodgy one? Is it Jimmy Savile?
It's not Jimmy Savile,
Oh,
no.
okay. That's my only guess. Pass.
It was John Peel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty shit of me. I should have got it.
Okay, I'm sure a few people got that at home, unlike dear Christopher. Next question, question number 7. What is the number of the house where Morrissey grew up in King's Road in Manchester?
Well, we were actually recording this episode from Manchester.
We are indeed, yeah.
And I think that the listeners will be very happy to know we're going to do them all going forward from Manchester.
Oh, are we?
So I don't have to go back to Derby, and you can travel up here. The number was 384.
Correct. Very good. Okay, question number 8. According to Morrissey, if what is wrong, your entire life is wrong.
If your hair is wrong, your entire life is wrong.
Correct. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, question 9.
Oh, okay.
True or false? Morrissey had a strong friendship with the carry-on actor Kenneth Williams.
I wish. Yeah. That's not true.
No, they never made friends, did they?
No, I don't know much of a... Yeah, I know that Morrissey did... On his autobiography, he mentions that he calls Charles Hawtrey. But yeah, R. Kenny, he didn't have a friendship with R. Kenny.
Very sad. Okay, the question number 10, the final question. Which song was cut from Boner Drag when it was reissued? And, for a bonus point, which track replaced it?
It's a really tough question. I really don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't know?
No.
Okay, well, The Ordinary Boys was cut from Boner Drag.
Okay.
And it was replaced, in a sense, by Treat Me Like a Human Being, the demo recording. So you didn't get 10 out of 10, Chris.
No.
And I am considering maybe we might find another co-host for the podcast.
How many did I get?
I wasn't keeping track.
Well, I didn't get 10 out of 10, but you are the worst quizmaster in the world.
Well, you can do a better job next time then. But yeah, let us know at home what you got. If you got 10 out of 10, I'd be pretty impressed. So send us a tweet or whatever, let us know. Okay, cool. What are we going on to next, Christopher? I believe
Next we're going on to Nanny Val Reacts.
Yeah.
So very, very excited to hear. And the song is...
How could anybody possibly know how I feel? Now, this was suggested by a listener on Spotify. So most of our listeners are through Spotify. If you follow us on there, you'll see there's a Q&A option on episode 1. So we asked you, what song do you want Nanny Val to react to next time? And of all the options, I thought this particular track would probably be the best one. So let's see what Nan has to say.
Yeah.
Just before we go into Nanny Val Reacts, I have got a gun to my head to point out that Chris got 8 out of 10 in the quiz, and I am contractually obliged to point out that I am the worst quizmaster in Great Britain. Yeah. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go into Nanny Val Reacts.
Pretty bad.
So we're here with my grandma Val, or as she's known to podcast listeners, Nanny Val, which is your name in our family, isn't it, Nan?
It is, yeah.
So this month, I've asked you to listen to a track that was suggested by one of the listeners. We asked the listeners, what do you want Nanny Val to listen to next? And someone said the track, How Could Anybody Possibly Know How I Feel? Which is from the 2004 album, You Are the Quarry. So it's quite a kind of almost an arrogant track, and Morrissey's really putting his feelings on the line. So I suppose my first question, Nan, is what impression did it give you when you first listened to it?
I did think it was a very odd choice for you to send to me, but I understand now if it was someone else. Someone
Yeah.
obviously a bit of a warped sense of humour, but okay. Um, yeah, I did think it was quite odd, and I tried to go through it a couple of times, the words, and see what I felt. Obviously, I don't like very graphic um, wording,
Yeah.
so that part, about
15 miles of.
miles, yeah, with his face in the shit, whatever. I thought, oh my god,
Yeah.
why would he say that? He's such a wordsmith. He's got such command of like poetry and that. Why wouldn't he use a different way of describing his feelings? But he always tries to be quite enigmatic, doesn't he? I think is part of what he does. Does he ever explain his meanings or what inspired his lyrics or not,
It's very rare.
Morrissey?
It's very rare for Morrissey to explain what a song means, and sometimes he'll just outright lie about what a song means because to get out of the question. But
Right.
it is interesting that you point out this kind of vulgar language because so this was a 2004 album. When he released Years of Refusal, the album a few years later, some critics said his language was so kind of vulgar and on the nose. This is not the Morrissey that we know. So I'm interested that you were kind of taken aback by that sort of
Yeah,
swearing thing.
yeah, yeah. I thought it was quite odd. Um, I don't know, almost like he says that and then he says, I do not, and I do not, and I do not like it. And I think, and your point is, it's just an odd way of saying it. I'd almost have preferred to say, and I like it. And I would have thought, okay, so that's some odd fetish, but it's at least you can dismiss it and forget about it. But it was odd. I thought it was really odd. Has Morrissey ever been hospitalized? Has he ever um, been in rehab or anything? Because this seemed to me like a story of someone in rehab.
Well, that's a really interesting question. I mean, as far as we're aware, as the public, he's never been in rehab or never been in a psychiatric ward, but he has said little hints every now and again that maybe at some point he's had some, some sort of serious psychiatric stuff. But yeah, so did you get the impression that he was kind of, he's had a breakdown, he's had all this crap, and now he's just sort of listing it for everyone to hear?
Yes, and obviously resentful of the people that are saying they understand how he feels and about their smelly uniforms and things like that. That's what gave me the indication it may have been, set in like some sort of rehab center or something. I
Well,
don't I didn't know if that was part of his background or not,
I
but certainly
think.
that's what it seemed like, a sort of narrative of that.
Yeah, I think that's really, I've never thought about that before, and that could perfectly well be the case because we really don't know what for sure what Morrissey means in his songs. But my impression of the smelly uniforms was maybe something about the police and authority, maybe someone who had questioned him who was wearing a smelly police uniform. But yeah, it could have been a nurse on a ward or a doctor. Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the words. I've got something else up on my screen. I was going to see again if I could. There was anything else that give me that indication. Oh, they say they respect me. Their judgment is crazy.
Yeah.
Says he wants to befriend me. It's more like I would have thought in a hospital as opposed to a police cell. I don't know. It's only me
No, that's
grasping
really
my thoughts.
that's really interesting. And so it could very well be that. I think another question I wanted to ask you was, it sounds to me when I listen to the song, he doesn't want help. He's being very defensive and saying, you're trying to sympathize or empathize with me, but you can't possibly know how I feel. And do you think that's a good way to conduct your sort of emotional affairs and try to get better?
It's obviously according to what stage of your illness. He says he's sick in this one. That's another indication to me it's a hospital.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, there are times when you can't accept help, even from the people that really love you. They're trying to tell you you need help or you need to listen and you just can't. You're not in that, mind frame. You just can't. So that's part of the recovery, isn't it? Getting to the stage where you can accept help and be
Yeah.
helped by people.
And what did you think that I really these are my favorite lines in the song when he says, the voices of the real and the imagined cry the future is passing you by. That's a slight diversion from the rest of the song, but I find that interesting. The idea that we all look forward to the future when we'll have hover cars and laser guns, and we never stop to think, well, we're sort of in the future now.
Yeah.
Did that have any resonance for you at all?
Yes, obviously, yeah, that is um again, I think especially someone of my age, as you get older, you think, what is the future? How much future have you got left? And future is passing you by, of course. And what was the other bit? A traveller to the grave. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
I'm not quite on my last legs yet, though, boys. Don't worry.
Yeah, Traveller to the Grave. I mean, this was when he wrote this song, this was 20 years ago to the year. So he would have been, I guess, in his 40s. I'm looking to Chris's next, but yeah, in his 40s. So a Traveller to the Grave, that's kind of pushing it. But maybe he just feels so sick and so unloved that he feels like the grave is the next step. I don't know.
Well, as I say, if this was written at a point in time when he was ill and felt and nobody understood him and nobody could feel as he felt, you
Mm,
know, and he's still saying, even at the end, very defiantly, I would never be you. Like, you
mm.
know what I mean? In any case, whatever I'm feeling, I would still rather be me than you. Or at least that's how I interpret it. I'm not sure if that's right. But
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like you're not too keen on this song, and I love that, and I'm glad that you're saying that. But I do want to ask, do you think even if the way you word things isn't the healthiest and whatever, is it still good to just put your feelings down like that in a song? So in that moment in time, Morrissey can remember that and say, that's how I felt in that year, and is there value in that?
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's my therapy. If ever I'm feeling or have had a situation in the past where I felt very low, I always write it down. And then months later I can read it and I could cry then thinking, God, yeah, I remember feeling like that because I think it's a form of escape. You can put your thoughts down into words. At least
Mm.
it's very therapeutic for me, I know.
And
So
so,
I do think it probably captured a moment of his life.
yes. And probably quite a difficult moment when you think about it. The kind of stuff he's talking about in the song. It's not sunsets and rainbows, is it? It's a
No,
diff
no, no, absolutely not. Mm.
I mean, comparing this song to the last one that you listened to, Hold On to Your Friends, did you see quite a difference in style between the two songs?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I've listened to a few others recently,
Oh
just
yeah.
because you've aroused my interest. And there are some quite lovely ones. I can't think offhand which ones I would say. I'll look again and tell you. But no, sometimes I think, oh, this is more Morrissey. I think it should be. There's some elements to his songs that are nice, and I also think he's got a great sense of humour. As I said, I've looked at a lot of interviews, and I think there's always that undercurrent that he's actually laughing up his sleeve, like and saying, I'm trying to be all serious and you know
You,
mysterious, but he's not.
you even said to me when I came around for dinner the other day, you asked me about Morrissey's autobiography. You were thinking about maybe listening to the audiobook of that, which I mean, I think that's a it's a big step into liking Morrissey, I think. So am I close to converting you?
I would definitely look at it. As I said, and I also saw, as I told you the other night, I saw interviews of him at a very young stage, and he was really good looking, little cupid bow lips, and you know, nice teeth, and he really looked. I thought, oh, he's a good looking guy. I can see why they all raved about him. Not my type. It would not have been my type when I was young, but a really good looking guy
Chris is
and charismatic, very charismatic.
like, yeah, no, definitely.
What is your type?
Not you, Chris. So you.
Too late now, Chris. That's a very long story.
Well, that's been fascinating, Dan. I know you're a little bit nervous about doing it. I really appreciate that you are doing this for us, and I know our listeners love hearing your reactions to the songs. Honestly, they do. So I hope they'll enjoy this as well. So shall we leave it there?
Okay, my darling. That's good.
All right,
Yeah, I
thanks,
do
Dan.
feel I've got imposter syndrome though, George, I must say. I feel like I've walked into an art gallery and someone's asked me to comment on a Picasso or a Dali or something. I think I can't. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, but you can go along with it.
Nan, you have raised a theory about this song that I have never considered before. So you shouldn't feel an imposter. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
And as I've tried to sort of explain when you've been a little bit nervous about doing this, there's so many videos online of people who have never heard a Morrissey song before, then they react to it for the first time, and that's a little bit like what we're trying to do here. So the fact that you don't have this wealth of encyclopedic knowledge about Morrissey is only to your benefit, I think. So please don't worry about it.
Okay, my love.
Okay, thanks, Nan. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Chris. Bye, George.
Bye-bye. Oh, Chris. Anyway, so that was fascinating. Obviously I love my grandma. She's my grandma. But I think she has genuinely interesting ideas, don't you, Chris?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I really do. I love your grandma, you know that.
I know. She raised that theory about Morrissey being in a psychiatric ward in that song, which I've never considered before. I always thought it was about the police and people he didn't like.
Or airport security.
Yeah, but maybe it was, So anyway, that was Nanny Val. Next, we're going to go into a discussion about, is Morrissey working class? So obviously he was when he was born. He was born to Irish immigrant parents who moved to Manchester. They were 100% working class. But of course, Morrissey's earned a lot of money since then, and he's now a multi-millionaire. And the question is, if you earn a lot of money, does that stop you from being working class?
Money, in my opinion, money and class have no correlation. I think that my mum, for example, no matter how much money she ever earned in her life, she'd still go to Tenerife for 2 weeks, and then love that. She would hate skiing, so yeah.
And so we've both read this book that I think I recommended to you originally, Watching the English by Kate Fox, and it's all about the class structure of the UK and what class you are, whether it's working class, middle class, or upper class being aristocracy. It's all about the words that you use, the clothes that you wear, the things you believe in, and the kind of house you have. And so there's that quote, was it George Bernard Shaw? I forget, but that quote I told you the other day about, an Englishman, when he opens his mouth, will automatically be hated by another Englishman. You can't open your mouth without being hated by someone else because you're too middle class or too working class or too
even within the classes, people hate each other.
Yeah, because of course you have lower working class, middle working class, upper working class, and the same for every other strata.
Yes, yeah. So
yeah, I wanted to talk about this. Morrissey is obviously from a working class background. I feel like that's not up for debate. He just was. That's what he was born into. Yeah. But through the years and through his pop career and the money that he's earned through that, he has elevated to a certain extent. So in the early 2000s, he was living in Sunset Boulevard, wasn't he? In a palatial kind of Los Angeles home. That doesn't feel very working class to me.
No.
But the things that he talks about do seem working class. And of course, he never went to university. And there's that song because of my
poor education.
Yeah. When, he says, because of my lack of university education, which I couldn't access at the time because I didn't have enough money and whatever connections, I expect you to exclude me from your social events. So it would seem to me that he considers himself working class. But what does it mean to be working class? It means that you have certain views on life, that you're probably from a family that doesn't have very much money.
I think it's a security as well. So the desperation of a need to always have the next game, the next thing coming in. I think that makes a big difference. What would you say your class?
I think I'm middle class. I can't really escape that. So my dad was university educated.
Yeah.
My mum had businesses, cafes and stuff. I like hummus and all those. Hummus. Well, you like hummus.
I love hummus.
But you, I think, would consider yourself to be working class.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, unlike yours, dad's an electrician, mum's a hairdresser, and Yeah, so I would say so.
Yeah.
And things that we like. When I go back to my dad's house, it's a bit like a royal family sketch, which is great. I love that. Sometimes I find it embarrassing, but I think that's the same across the board, isn't it? I don't think it's a unique to a certain class to find your family embarrassing.
Oh no, everyone finds their family embarrassing.
When I've been to your dad's house, it's great. Everything's clean. It smells like food rather than dogs, and it's great. But I do sometimes. Yeah.
I think it. So, yeah, so you consider yourself working class. I consider myself middle class, and that is that. That's just how it is. But isn't it interesting how it's not about how promoted you are in your job, how much money you have, what car you have. Well, the car comes into play a little bit.
I don't think the car... Well, the car does, because obviously certain cars, so like there's certain cars that would be very expensive cars, but also very working class, because sometimes people prioritise different things.
Well, there's the Ford Mondeo man.
Oh, yeah.
Which we read about in that book.
Yeah.
The Ford Mondeo man is a working class man who thinks he's a bit better than he is. He gets a Ford Mondeo, and everyone else above him in the class system looks down on him because he's got a Ford Mondeo. Yeah. And these are the kind of things that happen in British society.
I'm better than you, so I look down on you. Parallel parking the Mondeo.
Yeah. Well, of course, in that Royal Family episode. And also... So Morrissey has often been accused of diving into working class society, making a comment and then jumping out again. I think was it The Boy Racer, I think, or Dagenham Dave, where he was particularly accused of class tourism.
Well, Dagenham Dave, I suppose both of those, but also Reading Its Author is quite that plays a lot on class, doesn't it?
Why do you think that?
There's so safely with your software or miles from the front line.
Yeah,
that's very.
So the working class are on the front line. The author is middle class.
Yeah. He just they sleep where you wouldn't dare to drive. Those sorts of lines.
I think the point I'd like to make about Morrissey and whether or not he's working class, I am not working class, and therefore I don't think I can judge whether or not Morrissey is. But I would like to offer a point, which I think might be interesting, which is that Morrissey has always been anti-work. So not anti-working class, but just anti-work. For all the way back to I never had a job because I never wanted one, all the way up to the modern day with spent the day in bed, while the workers stay enslaved. I don't think Morrissey's identity and personality makes sense unless he's working class and opposing the idea that he hasn't got
the safety of not work. Well, he has now, but he wouldn't have, and someone of his background wouldn't have that safety. They'd have to worry about working the next job, the next trick, whatever it is. Yeah.
Trick? What, like a prostitute?
Well, on the game. They're all on the game.
Who knows what happened in Morrissey's past? But yeah, no. That is, I think, so it's much easier for Morrissey now to disavow work and say, I'll never work and I'll stay in bed all day. But in the early days, like you're saying, that was a radical idea.
It was really brave. I think it's very scary for people to think that, because you've got to get a job. I know that this was something from probably my stepmom always jokes about this to me when she says, you've got to get a trade, because that's what my dad always said to me.
I got to try.
But it's also, as you know, of course, but it literally is what dads say to sons, and it came up in that Fantabulosa or some sort of Kenneth Williams documentary, whatever, but it was really the case. I mean, I did a work experience as an electrician in a van. God, it was horrible, but yeah, it was bad.
We're not suited for that kind of life, are we?
It's not. I work in social housing, so I don't have the best job. I don't work in a big glass building, but I definitely couldn't have done the electrician's trade.
Okay, so let us know. Is Morrissey still working class? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So please send us a tweet, Instagram message, WhatsApp, whatever. We haven't solved it. We're just talking about it. But it's fascinating. And the class system is still very much in play in the UK. Make no mistake. So next we're going to talk about the lyrics of some Morrissey songs. We're going to talk about The Ordinary Boys, which we mentioned earlier. Now My Heart Is Full. And Bobby, Don't You Think They Know? Let's get into that.
Ordinary boy,
George, I have got to come clean with you about something.
Yeah.
The wine
Yeah.
was a recycled present from... It was a Christmas present my mum got, and she gave it to me.
Right, well, I don't want to disparage your mum, because I love your mum, but I didn't really enjoy this. So we're on our second bottle.
No, the first bottle was, the
first,
recycled one.
Oh, the first bottle was good.
That was the good one, the
it was
present.
good.
Yeah, so whoever got that for mum, it was a good present.
Yeah, that was good.
She didn't enjoy it, we did.
What's this? The second one is something you've never heard of. Pergolino Rosso Veranoso.
Where's it from?
You said it was from a conference.
No, what country, you idiot?
Oh, I presume Italy.
No.
Yeah, Italy. Yeah, it says Italy.
Well, they don't know about wine.
Well, it's crap.
Yeah, well.
Anyway,
but I wanted to tell you because, as they say, in vino veritas. So next we're going on to some Morrissey songs and what we believe they mean.
yeah.
First of all, we have The Ordinary Boys.
Yeah, so we've just listened to that, and I love this song. And so Morrissey is talking about being different. When you're younger and you have friends, school friends, whatever, you feel different. And, he says that you stood on your own and you knew that it had to be so. Which I think me and you could both relate to. You have these friends and you're trying to keep up with them and keep up with all the things everyone's talking about. But actually, you quite like the Smiths and The Cure and Pulp, and none of your friends are talking about that. And at some point, you realise, well, maybe I have to stand apart from you a little bit. And hopefully, fingers crossed, in 10, 20 years' time, I'll find some friends who like the same stuff.
Yeah, and there are many people, as we found, that do. I think the what this song always implies for me and makes me feel is very jealous that I wasn't of my dad's generation when the Smiths were here and I think for me the lines that really appeal to me are like just around here and the closed small streets that trap them. I think I always felt envious when I thought about those lyrics because I thought, well, how nice would it be to be content and to be happy with what you have, your surroundings, and not want something else.
Well, I mean, so in the first episode, I mentioned a Philip Larkin poem, and again, Philip Larkin comes to mind. He wrote a poem about how lovely it would be to have no doubt, just to believe things 100%. Whatever you think about the world, you believe it 100%. You have no doubt, and this seems to be the kind of people that he's talking about here. And yes, it is a bit snobbish, talking about supermarket clothes. Some people.
I don't know if it's snobbish because maybe the alternative is charity shop, unique, something very different. No, it's not about cost, is it? It could be that. I suppose it's snobby because he's talking about very basic clothes, very average things, but.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like, maybe it costs just as much to shop at the supermarket as it does to shop at a charity shop. But it is still a bit snobbish, I think. And I think that's possibly why he removed it from the Bone and Drag reissue, because it was maybe a bit snooty about, I don't know.
Basic people.
But yeah, basic people, yeah. But this idea that they feel so lucky, so lucky, with their lives laid out before them, they're so lucky.
I agree, though. Yeah, I think that's a genuine feeling that I can understand because, wouldn't it be easier to be happy and to be content with what you have? Wouldn't it? That'd be easier. Although maybe it's not a higher pleasure, but it is a pleasure is all the same, isn't it? So does it matter? Should you?
Yeah, I don't know. I do love this song. I think it has some problems. Like I say, I think it's a little bit snobbish. Morrissey is probably a little bit snobbish, and that's fine because Morrissey is always trying to elevate himself and try to be more interesting and have more culture than everybody else. That's good. But I think ultimately this idea of standing alone is what's important about it. And I remember listening to this song when I was, 17, 18, whatever. This idea of standing alone, all your friends have gone off to the clubs in the city centre. You don't want to go because you're not going to meet anyone, you're not going to have a good time. You're standing at the bus stop alone, and you knew that it had to be so. And this idea that it's okay just to be on your own and to forge your own path. This is why Morrissey is so great, because it gives you validation for those kind of feelings.
Yeah.
So what are we going to listen to next?
So next we have Now My Heart Is Full.
From Vauxhall and I.
Yes.
Okay, let's listen to that.
There's gonna be some trouble. A whole house will need rebuilding, and everyone I love in the house will recline on an analyst's couch quite soon.
Now My Heart Is Full. George?
Yeah, so we've just had a flick through Mozzipedia. So the Mozzipedia describes this song as Morrissey's ascent into maturity. So he's looking back over his past and he's coming to the conclusion that actually he's quite happy. You know, he's done everything he wants to do. He's built a career, and this is his reflection on that. I personally find the opening lines very interesting. So when he says, there's going to be some trouble, a whole house will need rebuilding, and everyone I love in the house will recline on an analyst's couch quite soon. I love dystopic kind of stories and films and whatever. And to me, it seems like he's talking about society. You know, there's going to be some trouble. The whole thing is going to crumble, and everyone's going to have to recline on an analyst's couch quite soon. I don't know. I've always thought that he's sort of talking about society generally, not just his own personal emotions. I don't know if you think that's anything.
Yeah. So what do you think of the line? One line that always stands out for me, not because it really makes any sense, but sometimes with Morrissey songs it's because they don't make a lot of sense to me. Was, "But Bunny, I loved you."
Yeah.
It's quite a strange line to add in, really.
Well, that's always had a weird kind of resonance for me, because I had a boyfriend at one point who I called Bunny. That was his nickname.
Oh God.
And this fuck off. This was before I'd heard this song.
Oh.
And then I heard it in this song, and he said, "But Bunny, I loved you," and I thought, that's so weird.
I guess he wants to know about the relationship, and he was.
What?
Maybe he knew about the relationship. Maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No, well, it was. I was 1 year old at the time, so I imagine
okay.
not.
Probably not.
But yeah, but Bunny, I loved you. I don't know. This is Morrissey doing what he does, where he will do a whole song about something and add in a little reference to some kind of personal relationship that he's had. I don't think it's much more than that.
But it is an interesting line. That's the line that always draws me in that song. If I think about the song, I think about that line.
Yeah, and who is Bunny?
Yeah, and what's going on there, because that is the most obscure. I don't know. Obviously, we don't know why, what it's about, but yeah, that really appeals to me.
I love his reference to Dallas, Spicer, Pinky, and Cubit, which is obviously from Brighton Rock. Isn't it?
Yeah.
But we talked about this last time. The idea of being in a gang. This is Morrissey in his prime. You know, his perfect idea of Morrissey is always being in a gang. So he's talking about Dallas, Spicer, Pinky, Cubit. He wants to give this impression that he's in a gang and he's associated with these fictional gangs. I think. I don't know if you agree.
And you mentioned as well you looked in the Mozzipedia.
Yeah.
But you gave me a bit of stick earlier the other day for not being able to find something in the Mozzipedia.
Yeah, because you're incapable of searching a text.
Well, I looked really hard. I looked under George's twat and.
I asked you to find out some information on Jo Slee because we were talking about her earlier, and you were incapable of doing so.
Well, I tried.
Now, I just want to say, Patrick Doonan, so there's a line that says, Patrick Doonan raised to wait.
Okay.
Patrick Doonan was actually from Derby, did you know this?
Really?
Yeah, he was born in Derby.
Okay, which part, do you know?
No, I don't know. Okay. But Derby City rather than Derbyshire. So that's nice, a Derby reference.
Yeah.
You always love it when your hometown is referenced. And
there is a lot of Derby. We mentioned this in the last one, I think, but there is a lot of Morrissey fans from Derby.
So many Morrissey fans from Derby.
It's a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because one of my friends, American friends, she always says there's so many Morrissey fans from Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyone who's ever been to Derby, of which I would not blame them, it's a very backwards kind of. It's a small town. I mean, you know, I'm a journalist in this town. I'm supposed to big it up and say how great it is, but I you know, it is a backwards town.
It's a little, it's a little Royston Vasey, a little local.
Yeah.
But
it breeds a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
And the kind of person that likes Morrissey, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So Morrissey ends in this song with "Could you pass by?" Well, the lyrics say "Could you pass by?" I wonder if actually in the song he's saying "Would you pass by?" But you know, he's sort of, it's this lost love, isn't it? You know, would you pass by? Could I pass you in the street? Might I bump into you? You know, it's because he's saying, "Bunny, I love you," but then later he's saying, "Would you pass by? Could you pass by?" So is it someone that he loved once who he's hoping he might bump into again?
I see.
It's a good point, Chris. Yeah, I love that point. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, he ends with "Now my heart is full," and he just can't explain. And that's, I think we should appreciate this moment in Morrissey's career when actually he was really happy. He could list all of his references and all this stuff from his past and all Dallas Spicer and all these kind of like literary references, but ultimately he was just really happy, and that's lovely. And next we have Bobby, Don't You Think They Know?
Aren't you tired of pretending? I know you're tortured below. Aren't you tired of?
Bobby, Don't You Think They Know?
Yeah, so this has always kind of perplexed us, hasn't it, as a Morrissey track? Like, we have no idea what it's really about. And I think it kind of has elements of like a Spike Milligan kind of nonsense poem about it. Like, it's just sort of random nouns and adjectives. You know, it's
And the gospel feel to it, very gospel, isn't it?
Yeah, the gospel singing, yeah. But there are some lyrics that I'd like to bring out, which we could talk about. So, let me scroll to the lyrics. Oh my god, there's so much on this. Me and Chris share a document, a Google Docs, when we're doing this podcast, and it's very long. Oh yeah, here we go. Aren't you tired of pretending? I know you're tortured down below. That's a really good line. So, aren't you tired of pretending? What does that mean? Is it linked to the next line? I know you're tortured down below, which is obviously relating to like a sexual torture. You know, is he saying you know you have certain desires that you can't admit? You know, are you tortured by your sexual sort of mind? And aren't you tired of pretending that doesn't exist? That's what came to mind for me with those lines. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I don't really. The song to me is I think parts of it I take, but as a whole, it's quite challenging for me. But I think the as you've just said there, aren't you tired of pretending? That's quite a powerful line. And I think that there's also quite a lot of reference to snow and ice. What's that about?
Yeah. Well, I suppose snow and ice are chilly, kind of horrible sensations. I don't know. Is he trying to get across an idea of this is an inhospitable emotion that he's trying to get across? You know. I don't know. I mean, I personally, I think that these snow and ice and Skagerrak and Mexican mud, I think they're all just kind of random things that Morrissey wanted to add to the song. Because I think Morrissey is, one of his best qualities is that his songs are very vague. And I think he takes it to the extreme in this song. You know, he mentions, he sort of references ideas that are so random, you could put any meaning onto this song and it would fit you know, which is what Morrissey is good at. And in other songs, it would be less vague. So you kind of know the general idea of the song. Whereas this one, it's like, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And he also says, oh, whenever you sing for us, the pleasure you bring to us. Oh, whenever you sing to us. And that's interesting because Morrissey's sort of saying, yeah, I can sing well, I can sing good songs, but I'm kind of like a slave to the audience. You know, and they're saying, oh, whenever you sing to us, you bring us pleasure. And you get the idea that Morrissey's sort of saying, well, I don't have to sing to you, you know, like I can just go and live in a cabin and never see you again. I don't know. There's so many things going on in this song. And I don't think either of us really know what it means.
No, yeah, it's a tough one for me. I think what I do want to say is that we do really want another album.
Oh, we do, yeah.
We don't want more Harrington jackets, emails of Harrington jackets with peace signs on them, Morrissey peace signs. We want an album.
Yeah. Well, we can only presume that he's in some kind of legal wrangle with his album, and
But all promising at the moment, hopefully.
Yeah, there are some positive signs. Yeah, so with this particular song, so he ends with Bobby, don't you think they know? Oh, of course they know. You can't hide it, Bobby. Like, what does he mean? What is it that everyone knows that he is trying to hide? I think it's some kind of, with the torture down below. I don't want to cast aspersions, but I think there's something about like a sexual thing going on here. Like, Bobby, don't you think they know? Some kind of thing that, I don't know, he likes, or I don't know.
Yeah, the torture down below was always interesting to me.
Yeah, like, what does he mean by that? I don't know. We are completely perplexed. So we would love if you were to message in on Twitter or Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever with your thoughts on this song. We would love to hear what you think about it, because I think we're completely clueless.
Yeah.
And next we have an interview with Stephen Stafford, a photography and art teacher by day and a Smiths tribute band frontman by night. He plays to hundreds, if not thousands, literally thousands of people at his gigs. His band do dozens of gigs a year. So we just wanted to get to the heart of what it's like to be a professional Morrissey impersonator, actually being Morrissey for money. So let's see what he has to say.
So what was it that you first fell in love with the Smiths for? And when was that? Was that as a teenager? Was that more recently?
No, it was during this sort of You Are the Quarry era that I saw, like, I remember my brother was working for Sky at the time, so we had like free Sky TV, and I seen the video for Irish Blood, English Heart, and I still remember watching that video and saying to my mum, who's that guy? Because I was just like mesmerised by him from the video, and she's like, I think he sung in the Smiths, my mum said, and then bought the best of the Smiths after that, and then that was it. That's just from then on in, it's been an obsession. So that would have been 2004, just before I went to university. That I sort of really started listening to the Smiths.
I mean, it's unusual to fall in love with Morrissey solo first, isn't it? The most common story is, I first heard the Smiths and then I got into the solo stuff, but it was actually Irish Blood, English Heart that really caught you. What was it about that song?
I think, well, I was probably quite an angsty teenager, and I think just listening to that, and I think visually as well, I think it's a brilliant video, and I think watching that video, I just thought he doesn't look like anybody else, and the way he was kind of like swinging the microphone lead around in the video, and he looked really classy, and the sound, obviously, the lyrics, I thought, I've never heard anything like this before, and it was just that sort of, like, it sort of stopped me in my tracks, because when you're watching, I think it must have been maybe on MTV or wouldn't have been on, might have been on Kerrang. I can't remember what channel it was on, but it just, you're seeing little snippets of different bands and different artists, and it really just, it made me sort of stop and go, who is this? So yeah.
And so that was, 2004 sort of time. Then you started putting together the tribute band in 2017. In those intervening years, did you find yourself kind of copying Moz's way of dressing, his kind of opinions? Did you feel that you were, kind of impersonating him a little bit before you got to the stage of doing the tribute band?
Well, it was because I studied at art school, and up at Robert Gordon University up in Aberdeen, at Grey School of Art, and I was making this series of work where I was reenacting interviews. So I was basically pretending to be all these different celebrities, and when I was doing these kind of video reenactments, I was trying not to be like the celebrity, and just like saying their words, and the mannerisms would kind of come across just by saying someone else's words. And obviously I'd done people like I had a Daniel Day-Lewis, I've done, I think it was David Bowie, lots of different people, River Phoenix, and I was interested in that kind of idea of like just saying someone's words and seeing what happens. And my work was all based around the interview, and how much of an interview is factual, and different interview styles and so forth. And I done the Morrissey one, and I can remember doing that, and just when I was doing that one, I felt really at ease. I felt like this almost feels like just saying those words. I just felt very sort of like I could have been talking about myself. I remember the tutors saying, you know, that it was almost quite an interesting sort of like it was you saying these things, but obviously it's not your words, it's Morrissey's words. And I suppose that was the first kind of like instance where I was copying what Morrissey was doing. Obviously singing all the songs all the time because I sing constantly, and obviously sing the music I like. I hadn't really, to be honest, I hadn't really thought about, you know, oh, I'm going to be a Morrissey impersonator. And I remember I was on Gumtree and I was just looking, I wanted to be in a band because I love singing.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen this ad that just said Glasgow Morrissey wanted. And I thought, wow.
Wow.
It was so strange because I replied to the Gumtree ad, and it was a guy called Fraser McPherson at the time who set up the band. He was a former guitarist, and he replied saying, can you send an audio clip of you singing?" And I was like, right. I remember just going into my bathroom and singing, I think it was Death of a Disco Dancer, because that's quite a good song to sing when you've not got any instruments. It's got quite a lot of sort of impact. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what he's going to think of this. And then he got back saying, oh, this is excellent. Can you come in we'll do an audition? And that first audition, it's a completely different lineup, like from that first audition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one who's still there from that. But yeah, it was just like, I'm not the most confident person, so it was sort of like I've always liked to sing. I used to sing in the choir and things like that when I was a kid, but I just thought he's got to listen to this and think it's awful. and then we went to the audition and they were like, "Yep, you've definitely got the voice." And then it was obviously trying to get a gig and things like that. But until you sing to an audience, you've no idea. Like it's sort of, I didn't know what kind of reaction we were going to get.
How many gigs have you done since 2018, roughly?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I think. Oh, I'm not a numbers person.
We're talking dozens, aren't we? I suppose.
Yeah,
Something
this year I would say maybe like 30, 40 shows, which
Okay.
is. But we like some of the things that we've played. Like we recently played at the O2 Academy in Glasgow, and there's like 2,000 people there, and I'm just like, I just pinch myself for things like that, and I'm thinking, I can't believe that I'm getting to do this. You know, I just like it. Like those sorts of shows are just amazing. But we tend to play like this. The gigs are very different. Like you'll maybe play in front of like 100 people in a little small venue, and then you're doing those sort of festival shows where there's hundreds of people. I mean, I suppose the most interesting thing just now is the audience are really, we're getting such a young audience at the moment.
Mhm.
There's definitely been like I hate using the word revival, but the Smiths are, you know, seen as really, really cool. And it's something I've noticed in the past year or so. Like, you know, we get so many messages from parents of 16-year-olds asking if they can get into the gig. You know, it's
I, I mean, the Smiths they've just entered the top 500 artists on Spotify, haven't they? And I think
yeah.
like 13 million monthly listeners. And I'm interested in your opinion as to why the Smiths and Morrissey have this enduring appeal for adolescents. Like, what is it that they keep rediscovering this music, and what is it that appeals to them, do you think?
I think mainly the lyrics,
Mm.
Morrissey's voice. You know, obviously I still love the songs. When I was sort of going to uni at that age and listening to those listening to those words, they just had so much appeal. And I think a lot of the words sort of speak to maybe people that are quite sort of insecure or, introverts, and there's always going to be introverts. So I think mainly the lyrics. I try and get my pupils to listen to a lot of Morrissey's solo stuff,
Mm.
because I'm like it's always tricky. You always think, can I say this? But I love his solo material. I think lyrically, just I think the words in a lot of his solo songs speak to me more. Um, especially the song Southpaw. I think that don't know. I think the lyrics in that song they completely
Mm.
speak to me, and or Alma Matters, as well. Like that song just. In fact, I actually just sort of insisted that we play that recently. To the band, I said, you might not know this song, but I need to sing that song to an audience because it means so much to me. But yeah, it's a good question about the appeal. Um, it's a hard one to answer, I suppose.
Do, do you do just when you mentioned doing the alma maters? I didn't ask this question. Do you do a mix of solo and Smith stuff, or is it mainly Smiths? Or
we mainly do the Smiths, but years of me moaning about it, we started doing some Morrissey ones. I mean, I think we do like 4 or 5. We do Playboys,
Mhm.
First of the Gang, Every Day's Like Sunday. Alma Matters was one that I just sort of, it's probably not the most well known Morrissey song,
Mhm.
and but I was like, I have to sing this, and the audience, you could just feel the sort of reaction from them.
Mm.
We sung it in Dundee, and just the kind of, and I thought there's a lot of people who've maybe not heard this song before, but they were like really transfixed by it because it's just an incredible song. Um, I don't know if it's my favorite Morrissey solo song. It sort of changes quite
Yeah.
a lot on a monthly basis.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you asking us, and it's been lovely chatting.
Brilliant. All right. Well, have a good day. Thanks, Stephen.
You too, George. Thanks a lot, eh?
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
So that was Stephen Stafford, known as Mr. Stafford to his students. Wouldn't we all love to have an art teacher like Mr. Stafford? That would be great. I thought that was a fascinating interview, and the idea of being a Morrissey impersonator, for money, is pretty cool. Anything you wanted to add, Chris?
You shan't be taking a career as a quizmaster, shall you, George?
No, I won't.
No.
I did my best. It wasn't good enough.
No.
You got 8 out of 10, and my questions were crap.
Yeah, the questions were good. It was the numbering and the format and the setup and the... Yeah.
All right, well, you'll do a better job next time, I presume.
Easily.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We'd love to have you on board. Until next time, goodbye and Godspeed.